What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we're going to be diving into Divine Incursions Volume 1 of the manga. So, just for a little bit of background and context, so first of all, shout out to Yen Press, Yen Press and Edelweiss for giving me a digital review copy of this a few weeks back. Um, and I might also be using some of the Google Play free preview stuff, whatever. We'll see in a second, but just want to shout them out. So yeah, so Yen Press is publishing the manga of this. It's already out in store shelves. Came out a couple like last week, I believe. And so the original light novel story of this was done by Omi Kifuru, and the story and art for the manga was done by Kouya Ashitaka. Now, this series is a interesting one for a multitude of reasons. So, for a little bit of context, both the light novel and the manga are already done. Both of them started in 2022 and ended in 2024. So, 3 light novel volumes, 3 manga volumes. Very interesting. It's I don't know. I'm kind of baffled by this whole setup with this series because I enjoyed this first volume and these first 3 chapters. So, just for a little bit of context, so it kind of follows these two divine incursions investigators. So, we have this guy named Katagashi and this young lady named Miyaki. And so, basically, in this world, there exist various gods that exist in the world, and based off of this first volume, these two investigators, as well as just like their whole group, travel around from place to place, town to town, whatever, responding to different inquiries or suspicious activity, and they basically try to find out, okay, what's the situation going on here. So, prime example, and what probably got a lot of people's attention is the first god in the first story that they come across. There are giant body parts that are just found all over the place, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what's going on and stuff. And so as they're investigating, they're okay, it was on this day a right arm was found somewhere, on this day an eyeball, on this day the nose, some hair, etc., etc. And so they basically try to do some research on what might have happened. First of all, they try to find out, okay, what is the potentially known god of this area, and then when did the phenomenon start, and basically just trying to find clues and pieces of, okay, did something change that maybe upset the god or whatever the case may be. And that's kind of the overarching thing that's going on. And I didn't realize until I was reading it, but like I said, they're traveling from town to town, encountering different mysteries and different gods and different stuff like that. And it's all been very fascinating because, like, prime example, the one in the second story was called like the I think it's called like the god who ate man or something like that. And it basically was this god that if somebody prayed to them of like, hey, do this and that or whatever, then over the course of the person's life and towards them dying, the god consumes their organs. And so it was kind of like a very eerie thing to see when they would do autopsies on these dead bodies and find everything, bones, everything still intact, no cuts or scars, but all their organs were gone. And so it's just like very fascinating little things like that that's going on. Now, I read somewhere in some synopsis, might have been in the light novel or something, that the main guy might be trying to figure out something that happened with his wife, ex-wife, something I don't know. Because one of the characters that you do meet in this first volume is kind of like this like lead detective guy over the agency, or at least over these characters. He is the MC's brother-in-law. So I don't know honestly like what bigger plot is happening. I would like to know, but like I said, I'm a little bit concerned at the same time too at the fact that this was all only 3 volumes. So 3 volumes for the manga would be 10 chapters. And so I don't know. I don't know if this is a case where maybe the series got axed or whatever the case may be. But like I said, it's typically, at least just from my little bit of experience of following different series, it's very odd for both the manga and the light novel to both have such short runs. So I don't really know what's going on there. I do know that the uh, the manga, the person who did the story and the art for the manga and the original light novel creator did team up together, and they're currently working on a new series right now that just started last year called Marudo no Kuni. So, like I said, I don't know if Divine Incursions got axed or whatever the case may be, and I was honestly a little bit hesitant on even recording this because at first I was like, well, maybe I'll wait until volume 2 come out. Volume 2 isn't coming out until June. So it's like volume 1 was end of December. The next volume isn't until June, like freaking 6 months from now. So I was like, you know what? I'll just say my piece on what I think of this first volume and everything overall. And maybe in a year or so, or maybe if I find, I don't know, I'll have to investigate these remaining chapters because, like I said, just on paper, it sounds like it's an axe situation. But hey, maybe somehow the author got out with it what they needed to get out within these 3 volumes. So, but like I said, it's one I wanted to put on y'all's radar. Like I said, it was a very interesting premise, very good looking art, uh, and stuff. So, but yeah, like I said, it's in stores now. I got to see it when I went to Barnes and Nobles earlier, just kind of browsing around, and saw it sitting there in the new volume section. So I picked it up, flipped through it. Art looks great and stuff. So, but yeah, like I said, this is one maybe to cautiously put on your radar. Like I said, volume 2 isn't coming out until June, and like I said, knowing that it's a 3 volume series, who knows? But we'll see. Hopefully, I can find an answer for y'all sooner than later. But yeah. So let me know what you think of this. If you've heard anything about Divine Incursions, or maybe have already read it elsewhere, let me know if it's something worth me, keeping on my radar to circling back to later on down the road. But with that being said, once again, shout out to Yen Press for the digital review copy, and I will catch you on the next one. Let me know other manga y'all want me to talk about, and peace.